I think, as I said, I've been a new Teddy fan since mid '80s, and one of the things I noticed is when Teddy was part of when he was in doing the GR with Gene Griffin, he was just Gene just had him work, and then so he was kept under control, kind of control.
Yeah.
And he was just making the music, and he didn't go anywhere. He was just out making the music.
Absolutely.
When you guys moved to Virginia, it was almost as if, okay, he had to pay for the studio. So he did the Michael stuff, he did the Bobby stuff, he did the Wreckx-N-Effect stuff. He was getting all the mixes that were coming in, got the camp. But my biggest thought was when he did the Blackstreet album, the first one, we were like, wow, love the sound. But when he would officially join the group and he had to go on tour, then he's trying to run a label. And then who's managing all these new people, all these artists coming back for records? How do you then try and go on tour in Japan and try and produce a record? And I think
that's the funny thing. Okay, so here's the funny thing. When we were doing the Michael record, Harvey Austin, his manager at the time, God rest his soul, love him to death.
Is he the one that has the funny voice, like, oh no,
yeah, that motherfucker right there, yeah,
yeah, that's what Levi said it.
Yeah, Harvey wanted Michael wanted us to go on tour. Actually, Teddy to go on tour. And I had to pull Teddy aside because I think it was an exuberant amount of money per week. And I was the asshole that said, Teddy, we can't do that, because I had the list of stuff that we had to finish. There was the summer of '91, we probably worked, I think I saw my apartment maybe twice, like stayed at my apartment maybe once or twice a month. I would just go take a quick shower and come back. That's how much we were working. Like literally, Teddy would go to sleep. That's when I would go to work. And he would sleep. Teddy converted, true story, Teddy converted his pool table as a friggin' bed.
Wow.
Because that's how much work we had to do. And then when Harvey came in and Michael's people proposed a deal to Teddy to be the MD for Michael's tour.
Wow.
I said, Teddy, we can't do it, man. And Harvey was pissed. You gonna leave all this motherfucking money out there? I said, Harvey, look at how much we have to do right now. He could do the shit you motherfuckers did it in goddamn in Japan. I said, we were doing one record. We have 15 that's on the block right now. And I was like, how the hell are we going to do that shit? We got Bobby Brown we got to finish up.
Oh, you haven't done the Bobby album?
No, we were doing it that summer.
Oh, yeah.
You have no idea how much we were working at that time. And Teddy told Teddy goes, yeah, man, we can't do this shit. I don't want to be out on the road. Because when you go on the road with Michael, you're out.
Yeah, and you're talking about a global tour around, it's not that, yeah.
So Teddy would have to either give back the money, which that wasn't going to happen, or people got to wait. The label's not going to happen. And Teddy was the biggest producer at that time, next to Babyface and next to LA and Babyface.
Yeah, and Jamie Lewis. And in fact, I think Eric Williams was with the Flex, Marley Marl's the Flex, and he was at MCA. And he said that Louis Sal Jr. played previews of the Bobby album and said to them, you guys aren't giving us music. Look at what Teddy has done. So it was almost like this. And he said, look, when he heard what you got, the One More Night and all that stuff, he said,
one of my favorite mixes I've ever done.
He said it was just blew their mind at look at the kind of stuff that you guys were doing. And so it makes sense that you guys he was just on another level and being sought after. But were you not concerned when he joined Blackstreet though? Because initially he was featured, because then I thought
I was concerned. I gotta be honest with you, I was very concerned. But at that time I was leaving. There was a lot of political stuff that happened. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I think I love that he's in Blackstreet. I just didn't like it at that time. And the whole idea was it was I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all because he just come off of Guy, and that took a lot out of him.
Mm.
And Aaron and Damon are great individuals, love them to death. It just, they didn't see eye to eye at that time. And because Teddy had a lot of work to do. And the thing that I was really concerned about was our time constraint. At that time, I had to be the asshole all the time saying, we got to get shit done. And then Teddy started bringing other influences and other people in there that really totally screwed everything up because other people had other advantages that they wanted to do. I didn't. You know, I was Teddy's right-hand man. I mean, that was my job. Wherever Teddy went, I was like, damn near where he went, I went. Because we were that thick. And, you know, I didn't want anything from Teddy. All I wanted was knowledge, and also wanted to do my fucking job, and which is to make records. Not being like Teddy's best friend, even though I was his closest confidant. And a lot of times with Teddy, Teddy's the boss. That's it. Teddy's the boss. And I try to explain that to everybody. I said, and a lot of people didn't want to do that. They wanted to be the boss. So they tried to do a couple of things. So with that being said, I didn't want Teddy to be in Blackstreet, but it wasn't my choice. I just knew that we had so much stuff on the block that we had to get done. And I think that, you know, outside influences kind of brought him to the table. And the original Blackstreet was Joe Stone Street. Chauncey Black came in there towards the end, about the same time. And I think Levine was there. And I guess something happened with Joe, and that's how Teddy was really bringing in there. And then Dave Hollister came in. Dave is he's just a freaking beast. You know, he came in, him and Levi were really, really great singers. Very, very good singers. I just felt that you know, it had its time. It really, really did have its time. And I just felt that it took a lot of time from Teddy, because now he's back in it. And having a hit record, the second album, having that hit record, No Diggity, took him in a different area, but it also took him out of doing what he does best, writing and producing. And I just thought that at that time he should have been writing and producing more, because you didn't see Dre go out on the road.
Yeah. Tim wasn't going out. Jam and Lewis went. I mean, they'll do the odd dates with the time, but they'll be. Yeah. In fact, Morris Day said that Jam and Lewis, they couldn't do the time because they were like they had too much on their plate. They couldn't just leave it. Much. And Babyface,
So it's so funny. I finally met and talked to Jam. You know, Terry's son. And Jimmy's son went to school with my son at Oaks Christian. So I always saw Terry, but I never seen Jimmy. And I finally saw Jimmy and talked to him. And I don't think they realized how much of an influence that them and Steve Hodge was to getting my job with Teddy, because those cats, if you listen to the Janet record, Rhythm Nation, they were doing stuff that I had no idea what they were doing with panning. And they were doing automation on their panning, which we didn't do. They had a Harrison board that they were doing all these mixes on, which automated everything. Panning, it was the first of its kind. I just got into business, so I didn't know about this shit. So I would have to emulate that stuff by using delays. And that's how I got better, by doing delays and reverbs and all like that. I was heavily influenced as a guitar player. You want to try to get that sound, you know. It's like you're trying to be like Eddie Van Halen, but you're never going to be like Eddie Van Halen, no matter what. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I try to get really gully with my sound and really try to get innovative. And I say, all right, these motherfuckers were doing it this way. Let me try to do this. And I would have, oh my God, I would have like 4 PCM 42s going to different areas, and I would go with the automation, I would go like this, like almost like a keyboard. So go, it was crazy. It was so amazing. Like you can hear it like, that's the way love is. That right there, those little things bouncing back and forth, those are 4 delays going at the same time. So it's going like this. So it made Joe Stone Street sound a little bit bigger.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
no,
you,
I did some innovative shit back then. Because
but
I had no other choice but to figure the shit out.
but because I remember listening to Terry Lewis in an interview saying how much he says admires Teddy. Says Teddy's one of the most technical producers he's ever seen. So so he was looking at Teddy from the technical and production and engineer side. But you said you guys were looking at them and
I
what they were.
was, not Teddy. Teddy never looked. He barely listened to the radio.
Wow.
At that time, Teddy was so focused in on that New Jack sound, the newer version of New Jack sound. I think that's why I lucked out at, because we would make those drum sounds. We were making drum sounds. You know, we were like, I think Bruce Swedien started that shit off when he made like an 808 out of a freaking water jug bottle from Sparklets and went like this and made it was amazing. So then me and Teddy started to do some crazy shit. Like I would be dropping shit off of steps and make this crash sound. We would chop and edit stuff. We were making our own sound. Like I would, it was so funny because I was looking at Billie Eilish's brother doing like the matches. I said, well, I did that shit already. Like that initial, I was doing crazy ass shit. And that was the part of it. Also, the other thing was when Teddy got the vocalist, we were the first ones to do that on Bobby's record. The vocalist was like premiere on Bobby's record. That was huge. We innovated that. Well, he innovated that. I was part of the history of that. But, if we did, we talked about it, I said, well, Teddy, when we get 2 of them, because it was like offset it a little bit. So I said, when we get 2 of them, one could go on one side, you gotta go to the other side. And he said, well, when we get 3 of them.
He just
all of a sudden Teddy got endorsed by the vocalist, and then all of a sudden we see the vocalist that had like the rack mount that had 6 outs. That's because of Teddy. Teddy was so technical when it came down to computer stuff. Like he would figure out shit that I was an analog guy. I never was a MIDI guy. I became a MIDI guy when I worked with Teddy. And then I became a better MIDI guy. Actually, Serban was not a mixer at that time. Serban was like a tech. And Serban was really into software. And he really got into Logic, and he really set up Logic really well. And that's where Teddy turned me onto Logic. But mind you, Teddy was using Notator back then. And Notator was the original Logic. And those beats that Teddy did out of Notator were phenomenal. They were hitting. There was no lag. There was something about Teddy's sound where all the MIDI was driven in there. And that program was tits. I wish I still had my Atari, because I would still use that to this day. It's probably one of the best things. When I deal with my production, I use Machina because it's the closest thing. And I remembered what Teddy gave me. Teddy actually gave me my first MPC. He gave it to me that day when we were doing the remixes. I still have it. It's in my closet. It stays with me. Teddy's always with me every single step of the way. Every session I do, there's always a Teddy Riley flair.
Yeah, as I said, as a fan, one of his biggest fans, I just felt that leaving the studio and being in the group, it just meant that and this was at a crucial time when the producers started taking center stage. So because you've worked with Timbaland, you've worked with Rodney, and you can tell that these guys were always working and competing and challenging themselves.